Hello and welcome to Nolan Financial Radio. My name is Chris McKinney from Nolan Financial Partners. If you'd like to hear more information about what you're hearing on our show today, give us a call at 719-210-4242. Visit us at our website, nolanfinancialpartners.com. And while our website, click on the radio page, check out our past shows, and subscribe to our program on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or even Amazon Music. Signed into law by President Biden in January of this year, the Social Security Fairness Act has been one of the biggest financial news stories of 2025. As you'd expect from the piece of federal legislation, it's complicated because it's not clear the benefits for how they're going to come to people, when they're going to come to people. There's a lot of uncertainty around it. So if you're nearing retirement, any new Social Security legislation or changes to the program rules and regulations is big news that you'll want to understand. And if you're already in retirement, you'll want to understand what's going on with your money. So during today's show, we're going to walk you through the Social Security Fairness Act so you can get a sense of what the legislation may mean for you. So before we get into that topic, I'm going to introduce you to my co-host, Tony Shore, who's as important to this show as Social Security is to retirement.
Oh, I don't know, but come on. Now we're getting a little bit crazy with the compliments. You need to stop with the big compliments, Chris. But it does make me feel appreciated, so that's good, and right. I'm happy to be here with you. But you're giving me way too much to live up to, basically. But for today's topic, I love today's topic. Because I like it when you take something hot off the presses and kind of pick it apart for our listeners out there. And Social Security is a big one. The Social Security Fairness Act is an interesting one. I'm excited to get into that. But first, I know Tara's off traveling with the government again. So it's you holding down the fort there at Nolan Financial.
Yes, it is. So I'm making all the meetings and making sure our clients are taken care of,
and making sure the horses are fed.
That's the most important part, is making sure those dressage horses do not go hungry.
Yes.
I got home late last night from yoga, and so it was after dark, and they were not happy that they were having to wait till after dark to get fed.
Yeah.
They're like, hey.
Yeah.
So they'll get fed before dark today because it's supposed to get chilly tonight.
Yeah. It's you guys are still dealing with the cold and snow. Now, we had 12 inches here earlier this week. Yeah.
We had a blizzard recently that shut down the highway that goes basically from where we live all the way into Colorado Springs.
Wow.
We shut down all day. It stopped snowing around 6 a.m. But the blizzard didn't stop until the day was over.
Because of the blowing snow.
Because of the wind, yeah.
The wind is what does it. And we had wind with ours. So all the schools were closed. Most people, it was Wednesday here. Wednesday that happened this week. So, that was crazy. But now, sunny this weekend, they say it could hit 50. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
We might hit 60 on Sunday.
Wow. Yeah. Warming trend across the country. So, yeah.
I'm ready for winter to be over.
You and me both, but the weather has said that they're looking at long-term pictures that could bring more snow here.
That's not over.
Yeah, not an option. No wonder no one likes you. Stop talking. It's our weatherman's. People blame the weatherman for the weather. I love that. It's like, if you would just stop with that. Just stop it.
If you wouldn't say it, it wouldn't happen.
Right. I think that's what people think.
Hey.
Anyway, I always thought it would be fun to be a weatherman because they get to joke around a little bit. Some of them don't take it too seriously. Like, there's some pretty goofy weathermen out there that joke around. And our weatherman here, Mark Schaefer, he works a song or a song lyric into his weather report every single weather report he does. And on
Mark
every
Mark Schaefer's his
or
name.
Schaefer, I think it's Mark. He's actually from Stillwater, where I live, but it's Channel 4 in Minneapolis.
I went to meteorology school with a guy named Mark Schaefer. So
really?
that's
crazy.
Probably not the same guy.
Yeah. Oh no, I don't think so. Let's see here.
It's not the same guy.
It's not the same guy. Yeah. Well, it couldn't be. He's from here. So
yeah.
Chris Schaefer. I'm sorry, it's Chris. That was my bad.
Okay.
Chris Schaefer. Yeah, Chris Schaefer. And he always works in a lot of Prince song titles and Prince lyrics anything. I'm always surprised, actually. Me, I'm a music guy, and that's why I like him. And he does it smoothly. Like some people wouldn't even notice, unless they know the lyric or the band, they wouldn't even notice. Like,
wow.
Yeah. He'll say we're not in Boston, but I've got more than a feeling that we're going to get more rain this week. See? You see? So that's like, and he has a different one every single time. So, and sometimes more than one. So I love that. David Letterman was a weatherman.
Right.
And I've seen some old clips of him. He was
pretty St. Louis.
Yeah, he was funny. Yeah. All right. Well, hey, we're talking about the Social Security Fairness Act today. What can you tell us about this?
Let's go to the history just a little bit. So the Social Security Act was signed into law in 1935 by Roosevelt. And so it was intended to be a federal safety net to provide benefits for older Americans so that they don't go hungry and starve to death like, an Inuit and living in Alaska, right? So, so he started that, and that there were provisions added to the legislation in 1970 that barred public service workers who receive pensions from also receiving Social Security. Now there were some odd ducks in there that also fit in this rule. So we've had some clients. They worked if you worked at like a public hospital, and then they elected to not send money to Social Security, and then they provided this private pension company through the way they did it, but it was public sponsored, private, and then but that also reduced their Social Security. So the Social Security Fairness Act, beginning in the beginning of 2025, instructs the Social Security Administration to adjust benefits for about 3 million Americans that are impacted by that 1970s provision. So it includes tabulating retroactive payments and future benefits. So really a big deal.
That's huge. Yeah, I know that. Originally, if you were a public worker and got a pension, they changed that in the 70s to say you couldn't take Social Security, and then they said you could take some. And now that was the windfall elimination provision, right? So then,
correct.
So now that's been what I like. I love our government. They've eliminated the elimination provision.
Right. So that had a big effect here in Colorado because
I bet
we have a state pension system called PARA, and so if you were covered under PARA, then you fell under that windfall elimination provision, and so
you couldn't collect your full Social Security.
You wouldn't get your full Social Security, and so for some people, they were going to get maybe $1,200, and then now they're only going to get like $400. So it could be like an $800 a month difference in their Social Security benefits. So that example was from one of my clients. I helped her figure out how it was going to impact her. She was a few years away from retirement at the time, and I'm like, wow, that's tough. That's over $8,000 a year that you're not going to get from Social Security because you also work this other job, even though you put in the time with Social Security, you paid your Social Security, payments through your payroll. You've got all your credits that you require to qualify, and you're not going to get that money. So it was a pretty sore subject for a lot of my clients when we had to start talking about PARA and how it interacted with Social Security.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm glad that they've repealed that. It's, especially, it was affecting teachers, policemen, firemen, right?
Right, because PARA covers all our public workers here, from teachers, to people that work at hospitals, people that work at universities. Just so many people are covered by PARA, and they were kind of, if they'd worked another job for 10 or 15 years and put into Social Security, then all that money that they had put in there gave them no credit for future. It was reduced credit for future benefits.
Yeah. Yeah, that's tough. And I think it's so important that that's changed, and it's good insight. I think, these payments are good. It sounds like a major shift, obviously, for Social Security. What are we talking about in terms of dollars and cents?
Well, so the average is about $360 per person. It's really going to depend.
And that's per month, right?
Per month. Yeah, per month.
That makes a difference. Yeah.
So you're over the course of a year, that's like $4,000.
Yeah.
So, hey, that's a trip to Hawaii, I think.
Yeah.
On a budget.
I like how you think. Yeah.
Well, it's cold here. So we always think about warm places. So, so you can, here's something it's really going to help these people, but here's kind of a problem with what's happening is that the payments are supposed to be retroactive, which means you're supposed to get all of 2024 payments, and then you're supposed to start getting those payments here in 2025. Well, the Social Security Administration is been under a hiring freeze. They're short of people.
Yeah.
So their staffing levels aren't good, and they're saying that they may have to hand jam all of these because they don't have a computer. This legislation happened fast, so they don't have any computing power to figure this out, right? So somebody's going to have to go put each person's information in there, figure out how much it was reduced by, how much they're owed for 2024, and then how much they're owed for moving forward. And it's going to be it's a big lift. 3 million people. How long does it take? Well, okay, say it takes 10 minutes per person. Multiply that times 3 million, and
wow,
now you get what? 30. So that's 30 million minutes. That's a lot of minutes.
More than I can comprehend. That's right. That's for sure. So, and I know that especially with the staffing issues they're looking at right now, there's probably a delay, at least in those back payment checks. I heard there's probably going to be a pretty big delay.
Yeah, it could be as late as next year.
Yeah,
for the back pay stuff. I think they're going to get the other part done before the end of the year, but the back pay may take a minute.
All right. So, what are some of the details of this windfall elimination or the Fairness Act that gets rid of it?
So, we talked about the delays. Let's go back and talk about these details. So, the Social Security Fairness Act repeals both the government pension offset, which was enacted back in 1977, and the windfall elimination provisions, which was enacted in 1983. So the WEP reduced Social Security benefits for workers who receive government pensions not covered by Social Security. The GPO, government pension offset, is similar to WEP with a notable exception that it affects spousal and survivor benefits of a person who received a non-covered pension. So it dug into people that really didn't need to be dug into.
Yeah. Well, and between the two, the GPO and the WEP, which reduce Social Security for people who are also getting a public service or a government pension, how many Americans are actually impacted by this?
So 51 million Americans are currently getting Social Security benefits. So, but they estimate there's only really 3 million that are affected by this.
Yeah.
And so,
and it may not sound like much, but it's, I know people, I can't believe it's only 3 million, but there's so many government workers and things like that.
Well, it's huge for Colorado. So I think Colorado may have more people than most states because of the way we have the state pension.
Sure. Yeah. That's interesting. And so,
because in Oklahoma, my parents were on a state pension, but their Social Security is not reduced.
Interesting.
I don't know.
Yeah. yeah. It's by state, and it's interesting how who's actually impacted, but I know that it is a lot more money that'll be going out to people who are eligible for this. So outside of the GPO and the WEP people, who is impacted by this legislation?
So teachers, firefighters, cops, postal workers, along with all their spouses. These are the kind of people that are going to be affected by the legislation.
Sure.
So the logic is that behind these two provisions, a person receives a government pension, they shouldn't also get Social Security, was what the WEP and the GPO was about. But this one Fairness Act just wiped them both out.
Yeah.
And so we're reset back to before, when people would get it. So I'm sure Congress did these two provisions, the GPO and the WEP, so that they could pay for something else, right? Because that's how Congress works. If they're going to spend money somewhere, then they have to save money somewhere else.
And I've heard they also did it maybe to shore up Social Security at that point in time. I know at certain points in time, it's been the Social Security Trust Fund has been low or threatening. They say, hey, we're going to run out if we don't do something.
Right.
Which we're getting close to again now. And they'll kick that can down the road as long as they can, but then they've got to do something, right?
They've got to do something because they took money out of the Social Security Trust to help pay for the war back in 2003. So Congress needs to put the money back.
Yes.
Right.
So that would be nice. Yeah. that would be nice. So all those public sector workers and people who get government pensions, you might want to look into that and maybe give Chris a call, find out if you need to file. Some people didn't file. Because of this or something like that. Some people actually have to refile or go in and file, right?
That's right. So a lot of people never did it because it's like, it's going to be $100 a month. I don't want it. I don't want the hassle. I don't want your problem. But now that it's going to be maybe $500 a month. Oh, maybe I'll go in.
You should never leave free money on the table anyway. Well, it's not free. If you worked it all and paid into Social Security, you should be getting it. So
you're entitled to it.
Yeah.
Because you did put in the time and you built the credits. And so that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
So, I wanted to give out my phone number. Because people need to understand how this is going to affect their retirement and how it's going to affect what they can spend in retirement. You can visit our website at nolanfinancialpartners.com. You can call us at 719-210-4242. We've got some complimentary consultations set aside Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. What will help you figure out how your Social Security may change, how that fits in your overall financial strategy. It's our goal to help you prepare for the retirement you work so hard for.
All right. Well, this has been a great discussion. You've been talking about the Social Security Fairness Act, which was just signed into law at the beginning of this year. And again, about 3 million Americans are eligible now for larger monthly Social Security payments. What do you have for us next?
So Social Security. So let's talk about Social Security because this applies to Social Security, and we want to know. Okay, the next question is, how do I maximize my benefits?
Yeah.
So now that I don't have this GPO and WEP hanging over Social Security, maybe I need to have a more thoughtful plan about it, right?
Yeah.
Because I was about to retire in 2 years, and I'm trying to figure out trying to figure out how Social Security is going to work. Well, now so many things have changed for a lot of people. So the first thing that you've got to do is you've got to figure out what your full retirement age is. For most people, it's going to be 67. If you've born, so the thing is, most people have already taken their Social Security. If it's earlier than 67, so for most people, it's going to be 67. Now, if you're born before 1954 and haven't started your Social Security, it's 66. But guess what? You're already 66, so you've already started it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where that's at. Pretty much, it's 67 for everybody that hasn't started it. So if you've heard that it was 66 once, that's why. I just wanted to make sure you understand.
Yeah, it was 65, then 66.
Right.
And so if you haven't filed yet, it's probably 67.
It's probably 67.
Yeah.
So you can file as early as 62, but that could lower your benefits by up to 30%. So that's a challenge.
Wow. You're going to lock in a 30% lower benefit, and that's locked in once you file. If you file at 62.
So say your benefit is 10,000 at your full retirement age, then now you knock off that. So
yeah,
what, 7,000?
Yeah.
Wow. Year?
Yeah. And then your cost of living adjustments each year, if you get one, it's going to be, if they say like this year it was 2.5%, but that's 2.5% of whatever your monthly benefit is. And if you lock in a lower benefit, your cost of living adjustments aren't going to be as big. So, you have
that
to
relates
do the
to
math.
actual dollars, because these are different kind of percentages than percentages.
Right.
This is direct dollars that are going to come to you. It's not, we're not talking investment returns here. We're talking increase of payments coming to you
every month.
Right.
So it makes a big difference. And not to say some people shouldn't file at 62, some should, but don't do it just because your neighbor did or your buddy did or somebody said that's the best thing to do because you'll get more checks. That's I hear so many people say that. I think the stat is huge. Like over 80% of all people file at 62 as early as they can, even if they're still working. I mean, it's crazy. Like they don't, because they're not doing it correctly. I mean, obviously they don't know all the ins and outs if they do that because, right? I mean,
right. Well, and the biggest reason that we have found for at least one say you're married, at least one of you should wait as long as you can, because then that one, the Social Security benefits will be bigger, so that if one of you passes before the other, then they'll get that bigger benefit.
Yeah. And odds are one of you will pass before the other. And then the other has to choose, they can keep their benefit, or they can switch over to yours. They'll get whatever one is bigger. And so, losing that income every month can be hard, right?
It can be really hard because.
So you're going to have one Social Security check instead of two. Right. So to help make up for that, at least you get the larger of the two if one is larger. If you're both only getting $800 a month or $900 a month, and instead of $3,500 a month, that's tough, right?
That's really tough. And then if you pass, then you just get that one small check.
Yeah.
Where if you do it the other way, where maybe one starts early, one starts late, then you're starting to receive benefits earlier, but then you have a bigger benefit later. And then you'll just have more dollars in retirement. It really works out. We have we have a maximization report that helps you figure this stuff out.
Yeah.
So so it doesn't look like a big mystery.
Well, and I want to speak to that. My wife and I had that Social Security maximization report run, the one that you run for people, and it shows those spousal benefits and spousal situations. In fact, it does over 20,000 calculations, that report.
It's a good report.
And I know you offer it to people you meet with at no charge. You'll run that for them. You just need some of their personal information, and it's based on their personal information. But even with, so I wouldn't file for Social Security without working with a trusted financial professional like yourself and without having that report run. It's just crazy. Why do that? Because it's no cost, just your time. There's no charge and no obligation. So people should do that, and they should talk to somebody like you about a strategy, because you have to look at, okay, let's look at what else you have. Let's look at what income you need. All these things are different person to person. And let's look at, are you married? What's your spouse's situation? Let's talk to both of you and see when each of you should file, right? But it's kind of a no-brainer. But even with that, the one thing that nobody, it would be really easy if we knew when we were going to die. Like if I knew the day and time when I was going to pass and when my wife was going to pass, we could run, we could input that into the software, and it would tell us we'd know exactly how to get the most money out of it. So that's the factor that no one can tell you. But you can look at, I know, Chris, you've said on shows before, you and Tara have talked about this. Yes. Look at your family longevity, look at your health situation. I mean, if you have a terminal illness or cancer really runs in your family, or you're not a healthy person, maybe taking it at 62 as early as possible is the best thing for you, right? But it just depends.
It just depends. And like you said, it depends how long you expect to live, and then your health, right? So if your health isn't good, then that's a situation.
Yeah, that's tough. But
you're probably going to need the money if you have bad health anyway to pay for bills.
Yeah, and if you don't have money, if you don't have enough saved up here, maybe you're in a situation where you have to take Social Security. So it depends on your situation, but get that Social Security maximization report run. How can our listeners get a hold of you before we go, Chris?
Yeah, so you can reach us at 719-210-4242. Check out our website, nolanfinancialpartners.com. You can listen to our past shows up there on our website. So you can get a lot of good information there. So call us at 719-210-4242. Set up that complimentary consultation.
All right. Sounds great. And that does it for today's episode of Nolan Financial Radio.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.